today is Green Lake, phosphorus, the impaired status that is more recent, and future management. Stephanie touched on a lot of that already. Again, my name is Ted Johnson. I'm a lakes biologist out of the Oshkosh office. Today I'd like to talk just briefly about the watershed, Green Lake's watershed and land use, phosphorus and water quality. Can people see those slides okay? That's better. Okay. And why phosphorus is so important, the impaired status and what that is, and explain it. Reversing the trend. You know, the goal that we're listed right now for dissolved oxygen and for PCBs. I'll get more into that. The goal is to be delisted, so we're no longer on the 303D or impaired water list. And then talk briefly about key future management issues. Green Lake has a huge watershed, 107 square miles. It's been developed since the 1830s, I suspect, from what I've read. There's intensive agriculture in the watershed. There's also two cities with Green Lake and Ripon, developed shorelines around the lake. All this land disturbance and development has resulted in phosphorus coming into the system in large amounts via the tributaries and the rest. People ask me all the time, why is phosphorus so important? And, you know, why not nitrogen or one of the other nutrients? Well, phosphorus is a limiting nutrient, and I have an analogy to try to explain why phosphorus is so important. Using eggs analogous with phosphorus. If you're going to make a cake, and you have 2 cups of water and 2 cups of flour, 2 cups of sugar and 2 eggs, you can make 1 cake. Well, let's say you have unlimited water, flour, and sugar, but you still only have those 2 eggs. You can only make the 1 cake. It's the same thing with phosphorus. You could have unlimited nitrogen, potassium, magnesium, but you have limited phosphorus. You're only going to be able to grow so much algae in so many plants. So phosphorus is a limiting nutrient. So to really improve water quality, we need to target specifically phosphorus. The other things collaterally, like nitrogen, magnesium, they will come along as well, because if you limit phosphorus, you're going to limit nitrogen. Green Lake has shown a net increase in phosphorus for many, many, many years. The mean right now is about 27 milligrams per liter. The water quality standard is 15. So we're above the standard, but we're not terribly far above it. I have some lakes, Little Green, for example, is 3-4 times the standard. We're not like that, but we do have a major issue. This just shows a trend line with the phosphorus going up over the years. Briefly, I want to explain some simple lake ecology just to help me make my next point. During the summer, the lake stratifies. There's 3 distinct zones. There's the epilimnion, the thermocline or the metalimnion, and the hypolimnion. The epilimnion is the warm surface waters in the lake. The thermocline, if you ever swam in a pond or smaller lakes where your toes are real cold, but the top of your body's warm, the thermocline is a zone where there's rapid temperature change, where it goes down quickly. That's a very productive zone in the lake. And the hypolimnion is the cold bottom waters. In Green Lake, the thermocline is at about 30 to 35 feet, typically. So it's deeper than you'd see in a shallow lake. A shallow lake may be at 10, 15 feet. The reason why Green Lake is on the impaired list for oxygen is because of what's going on in that thermocline or the metalimnion. This is a profile. It's a little complicated, but I think I can explain it. Basically, on top here, the x-axis, you have dissolved oxygen. Typical levels near the surface are 8, 10, 12 milligrams per liter, which is very good. Near the bottom, you're at 8, 10, and this I think would be in August, yes. And you see at this depth here, 10 to 15 meters, that 30, 35 feet, the oxygen dips down in August to below 1 and close to 0. That's a very unique phenomenon that's not seen in many lakes. It only occurs in very deep lakes, and only a few of them that I'm aware of, nationally, internationally. It's actually, you talk to PhD limnologists, they're quite interested in this phenomenon. But for us, this is not a good thing. We don't want to have this low oxygen in the middle of the lake, in one of the most productive zones in the lake ecologically at the thermocline. This doesn't happen year-round. It's typically July, August. It recovers somewhat in September. Burge and Juday did profiling in Green Lake in the early 1900s, and they found that this was going on then, but it didn't get down below 3-4 milligrams per liter. So to some extent, it's a natural phenomenon. It's just gotten a lot worse. So, you can't see this one as well. What does 303D mean, or impaired mean? 303D is an EPA federal designation. It's lakes that do not support, that shouldn't be there, accepted water quality standards. Accepted water quality standards in this case would be 15 milligrams per liter phosphorus, which we're in excess of, and also the low dissolved oxygen. So the pollutant is phosphorus. The impairment is dissolved oxygen. So we're impaired for low dissolved oxygen in the thermal climate. Another pollutant we've been on the 303D list for many, many years, but it's been for PCBs, which is basically from refrigerator condensers, that sort of thing. And once PCBs get into the system, they stay for a long time. So the pollutant there is PCBs, and the impairment is contaminated fish tissue. Now, I've talked to Candy Schrank, who is our toxicologist in Madison, and we've been taking samples of lake trout and other species in the lake every 2 or 3 years and sending them down for analysis. The trend for PCBs has gotten better and better and better in Green Lake, and within probably the next 5 to 10 years, I think we'll come off the list for PCBs. So that's a problem that's curing itself. They get encapsulated in the bottom sediments, and they can't recycle through the water profile, and so that problem's almost gone. Impaired status, what does this mean? Well, there's some negatives. There's a connotation of being a polluted lake. You know, I don't like hearing that Green Lake's on the 303D list or impaired, but in the property values, does it affect recreational use or aesthetics or property values? The lake looks beautiful. It's not impaired for recreational uses. I don't think it really affects property values, but the positive is it improves environmental awareness and advocacy. I've been contacted so much about this single issue in the last few weeks. It's amazing. And I think it's improved people's awareness that we have a problem that we need to address. It also increases, as Stephanie mentioned, funding opportunities. EPA 319 funds. I'll get more into this in a minute, but for BMPs, which is best management practices in the watershed, no-till agriculture, retention basins, buffer strips along stream corridors. It also increases funding for things for monitoring, lake management type activities, stormwater practices. You know, there's grants available for Green Lake and for Ripon. Another thing when you're listed as being impaired or 303D, something else comes into play. It's called a TMDL. You've probably heard of that with the Fox River is going through that process right now. It's a total maximum daily load. It's a maximum amount of a pollutant, in this case phosphorus, that a body of water can receive while still meeting water quality standards. Now, Green Lake ultimately discharges to the Fox River. So the Fox River is receiving a TMDL, so they're for phosphorus. So Green Lake's going to be allocated a certain amount that we can discharge to the Fox River. And also, we have to meet water quality standards in Green Lake itself, so we'll have our own TMDL. Likely that's going to be that 15 milligrams per liter water quality standard. So we'll take a look at the entire watershed, the cities, sanitary, everything, and try to figure out percent reductions for each that'll get us to that 15 milligrams per liter. So everybody will have responsibility to do their part to get us to that level where we will be delisted. As part of this, again, there'll be a load allocation from Green Lake. We're currently at 27 milligrams per liter. We'll need to get that down to 15 milligrams per liter in concentration. As Stephanie mentioned, we developed the lake management plan. Large group of people, a big core team, put a lot of effort, a lot of time to do it, a couple, 3 years. And we have an approved plan now. This plan enables us to be eligible for state grants and federal programs. And so because of this plan being approved and all the work we did, these are the grants just from the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources that have taken place or been received in the last 2 years. A $200,000 lake protection grant for a specific, that the county's using, Green Lake County Land Conservation Department, for specific land use practices in the watershed that will improve water quality. A $200,000 AIS control grant to take care of there's other issues besides just phosphorus. We have curly leaf pondweed and Eurasian water milfoil in the lake. Especially, it's a problem for Byers Cove, the city mill pond, the county A estuary. So this $200,000 is going to control the milfoil and the curly leaf pondweed. And there's been treatments this year already. We'll see how that works out. I have confidence that it will. $150,000 AIS education grant, which is standing in the back in the blue shirt, Chris Harmala. Sorry, Chris. And then the $5,000 virtual tour, which Stephanie mentioned, which is being received very, very well. Jen Kaiser deserves credit for that as well. I'm being called by my colleagues very often to ask about that. Our section chief is very, very impressed with that. I think you're going to see the same thing being repeated elsewhere in the state very soon. $5,000 stream bank survey, which looked for eroding soils and stream banks that we can restore to try to limit phosphorus and sediment reaching Green Lake. And now, most recently, a $5,000 urban education project for stormwater in particular. The Green Lake County Land Conservation Department, through the NRCS and the USDA, had $353,000 in 2012 for best management practices, $233,000 in 13, and about $255,000 at least dollars in 2014 for best management practices in the watershed. Directly, this money came to us because of the 303D status. That was a big leveraging point to get that money. So that's a lot of money in the last 2 years when you add the state money and the federal money. The Green Lake Sanitary District, and they're very forward-thinking in this, go a step further than this. They actually, for some of the practices that go on, they may be a 10-year practice normally, like if you construct a buffer strip or a retention basin or a 25-year practice. Very often the Green Lake Sanitary District will cost share, will add additional monies to make it the agreement in perpetuity. So instead of landowner sells in 20 years and that practice gets plowed under, now it's there in perpetuity. It's with the deed, it transfers. So that's excellent. That's not happening in a lot of places in the state, but it is here. So what's next? The study of the thermocline low oxygen issue. We're going to be doing that. Stephanie deserves credit for looking into that further. I'll be trying to help out and see exactly what's going on. In my opinion, what's going on is that because of all the phosphorus, we have a lot of algae being produced in that top 30 feet of water in the epilymnion. That algae dies and sinks, and when it hits that colder water, it's denser water, and it slows the rate of the algae sinking in the profile in the lake. And when the algae decomposes, there's an oxygen demand to decompose the algae. So you see a sag in the oxygen at that denser water interface. So I think the problem is too much phosphorus resulting in too much algae, resulting in the low oxygen at the thermocline, in my opinion, but there could be some other factors going on. Continue the Green Lake County best management practices. Fond du Lac County is 53-54% of our watershed. We need to do a lot more in Fond du Lac County. Study phosphorus loading in Silver Creek watershed. My colleague Dave Bolha is a stream biologist for this county. I'm the lakes biologist. He has a project where he's evaluating all these little tributaries to Silver Creek to look at what phosphorus levels are coming into Silver Creek. We're looking for low-hanging fruit. Sometimes a small sub-watershed may be contributing way higher amounts of phosphorus. If we can identify those, we can target best management practice dollars on those smaller watersheds to see a larger net improvement. Urban stormwater practices with Green Lake and Ripon. We'd like to take a much closer look at that. And as Stephanie mentioned, the county K marsh restoration alone could be 6 to 8% total phosphorus load reduction for the lake, which would be huge. I think most people here have driven by the K marsh and seen the brown water that's out there and discharging into the lake, and sometimes you can see it going out for a mile. This photo doesn't show it very well because of how it's working here in the projector, but if you can see this more clearly, basically this was chocolate brown, blue, beautiful Green Lake water, east wind, and this plume of brown went all the way down the shoreline. I think this photo's on the Green Lake Association website, and maybe on the Sanitary District website. Again, there's no plants in this large marsh or estuary. Now, the same day, a photo was taken of the Silver Creek estuary. This was in the spring, a couple of years ago. Chin clear water. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to understand if you have clear water coming in the lake, that's better than having chocolate milk coming into the lake. So we'd like to see the County K Marsh go back to a plant-dominated state, but be native plants. You know, we could go for grants to plant native plants out there so it's not taken over by milfoil and that sort of thing, and that'd be the goal. But that we need to get there because that will really improve the water quality of Green Lake. It's a team effort. We have a great team. Every minute I spend working with this team, I think there's a net benefit. Just to thank a lot of people, because I really appreciate it, is you, the stakeholders, the residents, the people that are interested in Green Lake, whether you live here or not. The sanitary district, been a leader in this whole movement. Green Lake Association, the cities of Green Lake and Ripon, the Green Lake Land Conservation Department, who's been doing great work. Same thing with Fond du Lac County. The Conservancy, they do great. The land they're buying is just huge for the lake. The Natural Resource Conservation Service and the EPA and the DNR. And be optimistic. I mean, I know this sounds negative. I don't like being negative. I am very optimistic with this team, with the drive that we have, and the resources we have, that we can flip this thing back around and make things right. But we're going to need your help to do it and your awareness to do it. So I appreciate you coming today. That's a smallmouth when I was diving the lake for the virtual tour I took a picture of. So he wants us to be optimistic, so let's try to do it. So thank you very much.